All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you're not here live, you listen to this in the replay. You're here live and we go over something you guys want to talk about. Just ask it in the chat on Zoom. If you're listening after the fact on YouTube or on Facebook, ask it in the comments and we will get it answered. But we're going to have about 40 Tower 26 athletes down in Oceanside racing this weekend. So we thought it was pertinent that we did a prep call. Having raced Oceanside, this will be my 11th time this weekend. Jason, how many times have you raced Oceanside?
About half, 6 times.
6 times. Actually, funny enough, Jason and I came out of transition T2 last year together. So that was kind of fun. So yeah, we have a lot of experience between everybody on this call. So if there's something you hear and you want clarification on, or something that's on your mind that you're worried about, we'll go over some of the logistical aspects, but we mainly want to prepare you for what to expect when you're out there performing, from an exertion standpoint, from a topography standpoint, from a standpoint that will prepare you for the conditions that might present themselves and things to look out for along the way. Jay, you want to say anything before we get going?
No, I assume you have a PowerPoint, so let's get right into it.
Oh, I got it, baby. I got it. Would I show up without a PowerPoint? I just need someone monitor the questions. Jason, maybe you can keep an eye on those. Anybody has a question? If someone has a question, I'm not answering it right away. Hit unmute and just ask it. It's an open forum here. We're family, right? So Saturday, the race is happening. If any of you guys weren't aware, it's happening Saturday. It's not Sunday. So hope you guys all know that. Remember, if you have questions, ask them in the chat. If you're listening to this after the fact, like I said, ask them in YouTube or the Facebook comments. We'll get them answered. If you don't have a Tower 26 race plan template to fill out, let me know. Text me, email me. I will get that to you. Just for your own knowledge, how you're going to go out there and execute from a nutritional standpoint, from a race strategy standpoint. After we do this talk, you'll be more prepared for the course detail, so you can fill that out. It doesn't have to be anything that's really in depth, but just like a football team doesn't go into a football game without a game plan, you should be going into a race with a race outline as to how you want to execute. Another reminder, make sure if you haven't updated your Ironman profile, go to your profile on Ironman.com. Make sure you add Tower 26 as your club. That's how we got a free entry to an Ironman event. It's because of this event right here, because we had so many entries into this event. It earned Tower 26 a free event to another event worldwide, and Rune won that. So hopefully you guys keep signing up for races and we keep getting those free events. And if you guys know anything about Ironman, it's few and far between getting a free entry from them. So good on you guys for all joining this event. It should be a fun time out there with all of us racing. So I just want to go over a quick checklist. I know most of you guys have raced plenty of triathlons in the past, but maybe we will say something here that just strikes a chord and something you might have forgotten. So, make sure you have a triathlon kit, obviously. Wear that under your wetsuit, especially with the colder conditions. The water temperature is going to be in the upper 50s. So you want to wear your kit. A lot of people, they might peel it down under the wetsuit, then pull it up in T1. I would say keep it up, just give you extra, a little extra insulation. Keep it up over your shoulders, keep it zipped up, and then put your wetsuit over that. 2 sets of goggles. Typically in the morning in Oceanside, it's overcast, so you'd be better off using a clear set of goggles. I think of all the times I've raced it, maybe 2 times it's been sunny. Other than that, it's been overcast and actually a little foggy. So be prepared with 2 sets of goggles, one tinted and one clear. And I would say you're probably trending towards the clear set of goggles. Obviously, you need a wetsuit, and then you need Vaseline for any hot spots that might pop up, that might give you irritation. Rick and Sue, you guys both used your wetsuit in the pool today. Hey, something was irritating my neck. I was getting a little rub. You're going to put a little extra Vaseline there. Or maybe under your arms, you feel a little, anywhere that might pipe up halfway through the swim and start giving you problems, you want to put Vaseline on. Also with the cold water, something I do, and it's worked pretty well, is I put Vaseline on any exposed skin. So I put it on the top of my hands, I put it on my cheeks, all over my nose, on the top of my feet, and it helps repel that cold water and give you a little bit more, I guess, not really insulation, but it repels that water and helps you stay a little warmer. So any exposed skin, try and get that Vaseline on. Just don't touch your goggles afterwards, because that will give you a nice thumbprint on that goggle. But yeah, use that Vaseline before you leave transition. Coat it all over the top of your feet, the top of your hands, your cheeks, your nose, and you will be a little warmer than everybody else that's swimming. Pro tip there. Bike, you need your bike, helmet, shoes, socks, race belt. Remember, this race, because we're on Camp Pendleton, you have to wear your race belt on the bike. So you want to keep that in T1 and put it on before you exit transition. So you race belt on the bike. Warm clothes, if you're worried about getting cold, because you are going from 58-degree water to air temperature that's probably in the high 50s, low 60s. So if you're worried about getting cold, take something with you that halfway through the bike you might be able to fold up and put in a pocket or wrap around your waist, as long as it's safe riding with. But the last thing we want is to be too cold. In the past, it's gotten pretty warm and pretty humid pretty quick. So if you can take the first few minutes on the bike of cold before that heart rate starts to get up and you start to build that heat, I think you're better off not putting on all that stuff and knowing that it's going to warm up pretty soon. Sunglasses, even if it's foggy or if it's a little overcast, bring those sunglasses with you, because typically halfway through the bike, that sun starts to come out. Bring your water bottles, your nutrition, your gels, your blocks, anything you need for a flat tire. This course does have several areas that have potholes and some unfavorable road conditions, so make sure you have your flat tools with you. They do have a lot of support on the bike, so you see helping change tires all over the place, but you don't want to be stuck out there for a long period of time without being able to get started before somebody comes by to help you out. You can never rely on them. And then you need a pump just to get some air in your tires before you drop it off on Friday, because you have to drop your bikes off on Friday. And then the morning of, there's plenty of pumps around transition. I would suggest you don't bring a pump to transition. It's one extra thing to keep an eye on. If you do bring it to transition, it's not a huge deal. But you will have to stick it in your bag, and there's always a chance that it will fall out. So bring a pump down the Oceanside so you could put air in your tires before you drop off the bike. It's not that warm, so we're not worried about your tires exploding overnight. But yeah, just some extra thing to bring with you.
Real quick, guys, on the bike, if you don't mind, Jim.
Go ahead.
Last week I did Lake Lopez. It was an MTS little try, and what a lot of people did is put toe covers on their shoes, and then that helped out a lot because everyone's feet were numb. Probably 4 miles into the race, and they finally start feeling their feet with 2 miles left, which really sucks if you've ever been in that position. And then putting full finger gloves on your skis. So if you're comfortable with your handling skills, when you hit a flat road to where you can actually, in your aero skis, start to put on your gloves, that might help out a lot, because the worst thing in the world is have numb fingers and toes when you're on your bike. So if you're comfortable with putting on your gloves while you're riding, do that, put them on your skis. If not, put them on before the bike and then take off.
Yeah, just know yourself. Know if you get really frigid really quickly, and be prepared for that. All right, so running, pretty straightforward. Running shoes, hat, visor, socks. If you're going to wear socks on the bike, make sure you have them ready with your bike shoes. If you're going to wear socks on the run, make sure you have them in your run shoes ready to go. And then all the nutrition. And don't forget salt on this race, because typically on the run, it gets pretty humid out there. So whether you're taking your salts via electrolyte drink or salt tablets or base salt, however you do it, let's make sure you guys have your salt with you, because that humidity can really wreak some havoc on us who are not used to running in the humidity. Miscellaneous stuff, make sure you bring your training device, your heart rate monitor, any Vaseline, Body Glide, like I said. Sunscreen, it does get pretty, those UV rays in that humidity on the run do pipe up pretty strong. So put on some sunscreen, maybe coming out of T2. And if you want to just put it on in the morning and just rely on that sunscreen that you put on before you leave your hotel or your Airbnb, put it on before you leave. Electrical tape. Let's make sure everything on your bike is hunkered down pretty well. So if you need to use some extra electrical tape to wrap around that front end hydration system, or anything that might bounce around a little bit, use some extra tape on that and just make sure everything's hunkered down. Because like I said, there are some areas on this course where your bike really does vibrate a lot, and things that are not completely hunkered down could shake loose. Change
Guys,
clothes
real
for
quick.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You got it.
Guys, when it's real cold, let's go back to nutrition. When it's real cold, here's a tip. We typically don't eat or drink when it's really cold. And then all of a sudden we forget about it. Try, what helps me at least, put a timer on your watch during if you have a triathlon setting on your GPS, put every 15 minutes, allow your watch to chirp or alarm to go off. Therefore, it reminds you just to force force nutrition as you go.
Really good point. A really good point on the cold weather on the bike. we know that the run is challenging from like I said, from a topography standpoint, it's a challenging run. It's up and down and up and down. It's a hard run because it's hard packed. It's a lot of it's concrete and it gets very humid. You're setting yourself up for success by staying on top of that nutrition on the bike. I think last year, I forget exactly, I think I took 14 gels on the bike in addition to 3,000 milligrams of sodium, and I ran a 115 or 16 or something like that. So, or I don't remember. I think it was like 115, 116. I felt bulletproof coming off the bike had I not taken that type of nutrition. I'm not saying you have to take that much. You have to take what you're accustomed to, but if I hadn't taken that nutrition, I forgot about it. There's no way I would have had that type of run, felt that good coming off the bike. Another thing to remember about Oceanside, because the transition is a couple miles from the finish line, make sure in your morning clothes bag, which you drop off before the race, they bring it down to the finish line, bring a change of clothes, or make sure the change of clothes you have in that bag is something warm that you can put on, because there's been times after this race that the temperature might be a little low and there's athletes stuck freezing because they don't have anything to change into. So bring a change of clothes, or just make sure your morning clothes that you wear to the race are in a suitable shape to wear after the race. Otherwise, bring an extra set of clothes. I see there's a question there. I can't see it. Does anybody see what that question is? Or whoever asked that question, pipe up. What do we got? Anyone see it?
I was asking about the wetsuit. If you have a choice of a thermal wetsuit, what's temperature of the water like compared to La Quinta, for example, which was cold, but
Probably about the same. It's probably the same as La Quinta.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that in 1 second. But here's the schedule. We'll just go over this real quick. Let's just remember a couple things to check out: the athlete briefings. Make sure we attend the athlete briefing just to make sure from a last minute standpoint, you're not missing anything that they might want to fill you in on. So all those athlete briefings, 9:30 to 5:30 Friday, you can check in your bike. So you need to make sure that you need to make sure you check in. You need to pick up your gear, check in for the race, and then go check in your bike. So Friday, you have to check in your bike. There's no option. You can't bring your bike on race day. There are let's see, like I said, those athlete briefings. I mean, if you're there Friday morning, you could go to the swim clinic. They have that on the south side of the pier if you just want to feel what the water was like. Not totally necessary. And I heard the Oceanside water isn't in the best condition, so I'd rather you not spend as much time in that water if you want to feel what it was, but I don't want you spending, an hour in that water swimming around. All right, Saturday, here's the race day, 4:30 to 5:30. Shuttle bus service is in effect. If you're staying down by the finish line, you could get a shuttle bus, but it's only, it's not a far walk. You can walk to the race. Transition opens at 4:45, closes at 6:30. We start at 6:40. Everybody else starts at 6:50. Remember, it's a rolling start, guys. So this is where you figure out where you typically finish a half Ironman and you line up accordingly. They have big signs that say 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Typically, athletes are a little aggressive with what they think they're going to finish in. Jason, what's your take as to where our athletes should line up?
Depends. Sorry, but it kind of does. Look at what you've done before. And just honestly, some people ask just people that are in line, say, hey, what do you usually swim in a half? Or what's your, I hate saying it, but some dorks like myself say, what's your lane base? And everyone usually lies, but it kind of, the good thing about the Oceanside is it's a huge ocean. There's not like a little channel where like in Hanu or a lot of places where it's like the birth canal of like trying to swim through in the beginning. So like now you have whole ocean, and we'll get into this later, but there's going to be a huge swell. There's a huge swell every single year. So it's going to take you a while to get out. So you're going to run into the ocean, then I guarantee you're going to stop. So it's like you're going to be walking for a long time. So there's something to consider where there's a lot of wiggle room to where you start. So honestly, in Oceanside, particularly in the swim, where to start, it kind of doesn't matter because it's such a interesting swim and everyone's spread out because of the swell. So I would probably start in the mid. If you're a strong swimmer, you definitely get in front. But at the same time, you want to get a good draft. And when there's a lot of people in front of you, there's a lot of water movement going towards your direction. So you don't want to be all the way in front if you're strong, but I would still sit back even if you're a strong swimmer. If you're not as good of a swimmer, or you're like, I just kind of want to get out of the riffraff, It really doesn't matter because it's so big. Those swim starts so big once you get out in the ocean. Just keep in mind of where everyone's going and where the swell is coming from. We can talk about that later regarding reading the swell, but I would
Yeah, we're gonna talk. You'll go be able to go in depth in that because there's a lot to remember at the swim start. But yeah, agreed. Just be on the and in this type of where it's an ocean start, especially with our athletes, or most of our athletes are more familiar with being in the ocean. Be on the more aggressive side of where you think you're going to finish, because we would want to be with all the group that's very hesitant getting through those waves. We dive under the waves, we get through them. Whether it's 50 feet or 3 inches, you know how to get through a wave. So be on the aggressive side of where you think you're going to finish. Race day, wake up early, give yourself plenty of time to eat and get out of the door. I say typically 2 to 2.5 hours before your race start, you want to eat something, typically like oatmeal, things that are going to be easily digested, nothing that's going to sit in your stomach for a long time, like eggs. So you want something like oatmeal, scoop of nut butter. Don't try anything new that you haven't had before. Bring something that you can eat about an hour out, whether it's a gel, banana, gummies. Start on your electrolytes. You don't have to like guzzle electrolytes race morning, but you just sip on a drink throughout. I will have Precision Hydration 1500. I have tons of packets of that. So if you guys need that, find me on Friday. I'll give out the address of where I'm staying. Either I don't have the address right now, but I'll get you guys the address. And if you need Precision Hydration 1500, you can come grab a couple packets of that from me. Once you get to the race venue, find the porta potty, get that out of the way, find a pump, get those air in your tires, set up transition. Don't add anything to transition that you don't need. You don't need a whole ton of stuff, just what you're going to use on race day, your bike stuff, your run stuff. That's it. Find the swim in, the bike out. You should have probably done this Friday when you dropped your bike off. You want to look at where you're going to be running in from the swim and where you are going to be taking your bike out of transition, and then where you're going to run out from your transition to the run out. Know what path you're going to take, and you know, you'll be ready to go. You won't have to think about it when all the commotion of the transitions are happening. Once you get everything done, you don't have to get down to the swim start so early, but they kick you out of transition around 6:30, so be ready to get out of there around then. You want to also get a little 5-10 minute jog with water temperature as cold as it's going to be. I don't want you guys spending 20-30 minutes in the water, but you need to jump in the water, do a little, a couple strokes here and there, get your head wet, and then get out of the water. You can go for a jog to stay warm. This is just some shuttle stop stuff that is in the athlete guide. We're not going to cover that. Swim course. So it's 1900 meters, 1.2 miles, water temperature, high 50s, not low 60s. It's going to be in the high 50s. Bring your full sleeves wetsuit. If you have the thermal wetsuit, I would say wear that. Turn buoys are red. So you're going to have 1, 2, 3. Can't see your guys' faces in the way, but there is a 4th turn buoy there at the finish. You have 4 turn buoys on the course. You use the shore and the harbor for sighting. So you run out to the first turn buoy, make a right-hand turn, you swim towards the harbor, and there's that breaker right there. You swim around the breaker, you make another right-hand turn, swim into the next buoy, right-hand turn, and you swim to the final buoy, and the final buoy is pretty much at the finish line. We're going to talk about the waves and the chop shortly because you will be encountering that. Ocean entry, harbor exit. It's a long run to your bike because you have to run all the way the length of transition before you make the quick left-hand turn in the transition where you run all the way back to your bike. And the second turn buoy, I just want you guys to look out for this. The second turn buoy, Jason's going to go in depth on this course, but the second turn buoy is a very tight turn. So a lot of you guys will turn and say, where the hell did the buoys go? You're going to make a right turn and you got to make a really, really tight. It's greater than 90 degrees. And then you'll see those orange buoys that indicate the second half of that swim course. All right, Jay, it's your time to shine. What do you got?
For the swim, you mean?
Yeah.
So you guys don't have to go outside of the buoys that are not red. So you guys can go in the inside if you want, just to avoid traffic. And if there's someone on the surfboard or lifeguard like pointing you, just swim under them. I mean, if you're not cutting the red buoys, you can be on the inside of the yellow buoys and the orange buoys. So just FYI, I do it all the time. You won't get penalized. But yes, you do have to go around the red buoys. When you do go around the red buoys, usually there's a bottleneck around the round buoys. So I would keep those, if it's calm, keep those gator eyes going and kind of go wide. But if there's no one there, obviously take a tangent and drill it. when you come out of the swim, there's a boat ramp, and usually it's a hard, like, there's not really any duck diving. So once you go swim all the way till your hand touches that blue carpet and then get out. Be careful that you don't sprint up that boat ramp, because you're a little disoriented. So and you don't really want to go VO2 up that boat ramp. There's a lot of energy. Don't get caught up in all the energy. There's going to be thousands of people. If you haven't been there before, there's a lot of energy in that part of the race, because everyone comes and watches that part. So just calm down, take your wetsuit off halfway while you're running. Get the O2 in, try to breathe through the nose. And then once you get to your bike, obviously take everything off and get going on your bike.
So swim start wise. So swim start, typically.
Okay. Let's go backwards. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so typically in the swim start, you have probably 50 to 75 yards of whitewater, right? It's just wash. And then
Maybe
you hit the break. Yeah, that's underestimating, but it's going to be high tide. So you have a long way to wade out in the water, run with your high knees without letting that heart rate spike too high before you hit, because you'll look at the waves from the shore and you say, oh, they're not that bad. But then you run out 100 meters and you come up to the waves, and they're supposed to be 2 to 3 foot. So it's not too crazy, but it will be high tide. So you might encounter a little higher whitewater than I've typically encountered at this race.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get about 100 meters out, then you'll see, the wave with 2 to 3 foot faces could be a little intimidating, but we all know how to dive under the waves, and it's a very quick break. It's not like you're going to be going through 3, 4, 5, 6 waves. You go dive under 1, maybe 2 waves, and then you're past it, and it's clear sailing from there. But I just don't want you guys to get caught up, and everybody else who's intimidated when they do see those faces come at them after 100 meters, and they step back and let the wave push them back 50 meters. It's like attack, dive under the wave, get through it, dive under the next wave, get through it, and then start your swim out to that first red buoy. Jay?
Yeah, that's a good point. When you guys basically, when you can't push up off the water and do a duck dive, basically start swimming, because what's going to happen is there's still whitewash and waves going over your head, and you're still neck deep. So and people try it, and then they get into trouble because they're like, I can't, I'm stuck. And then all of a sudden they get clobbered by a wave. So I would go 80% regarding running into the water. Yes, there's a lot of energy and everyone sprints, but I would say a lot of your energy is spent just trying to get past the whitewater. So every single year I get hypoxic and I'm pretty comfortable. So not to scare you, but I've done the wrong thing many times because there's so much energy. So yeah, like Jim said, duck dive, like maybe 3, 4 duck dives. And honestly, you're almost just as fast walking, probably faster walking through that whitewash than trying to duck dive or even swim. Now, obviously, once the water gets up to your probably waist to chest, then start swimming, and then start swimming underneath the waves when the whitewash comes over you.
So it's high tides at 7:10. So we're going to encounter, this is 2 to 3 foot. So it's not going to be that bad. I mean, it's not going to be too huge a waves, but high tide, they could seem a little more intimidating. So just like I said, keep moving forward. Don't let them freak you out. Once you get through the 1, maybe 2 waves, you're fine to start swimming. And we got to pay attention to the current. The good way you can do that beforehand is watch the pros go, see where they're getting pushed, right? So if you see a lot of the pros go out and all of a sudden they're moving to the left as they're swimming, they're not trying to move to the left. The current is taking them that way. So you have to swim accordingly, right? So if they're getting pushed to the left as you watch them, you want to swim further to the right. If they're getting pushed in as they swim, we want to take the straightest line possible. But if that current is taking us to the right, you want to start even further to the left. So you can be that guy who plays the current correctly. So pay attention to what's going on race morning. I believe last year we read it as going right to left, and then when we got out there, we got pushed further left, so we had to swim a heck of a long way back to the buoy. So just be really in tune, because it could mess with you and take, add 200-300 meters to swim if you read that current, if it's strong, especially as it could be at high tide. So pay attention to what's going on with the current before you get into your swim start. And you can talk to us. You can talk to Jerry will be down there. Driscoll will be there. Talk to any coaches you see, and we can fill you in on what we are seeing current wise. All right, back to this. Let's see, where are we at? All right, so it is pretty cold. I just want you guys to know that there's a possibility you could hyperventilate as you get going. You got your wetsuit on, it's tight. There's people all around you. And you kind of lose your breath. You get that CO2 buildup in your system, and you start to, and you think you're dying, right? You're not dying. You're fine. You just got to relax. You can even turn on your back. If you're through the waves, turn your back, just let your breathing calm down, and then slowly, very slowly get back in your swim stroke. Eventually it comes back to you and you warm up and you get back with that regular breathing. But it's just something to look out for. It happens to everybody. It happens to me once a year. So just know that there is a chance with the cold water. You haven't been in your wetsuit in quite some time. You may hyperventilate, but it's all part of the process. Recognize it. Just relax. Let your breathing come back to you. If you need to use a lifeguard who has a board, you can sit on the board for a second. Let all that stuff relax, calm down, and then get back in your swim stroke. Keep moving forward. Like I said, that second turn buoy is a tight turn. From there, you can swim. If you're breathing to the right, you can watch the harbor wall, and you can swim parallel to the harbor wall, make the right-hand turn on that third turn buoy, swim parallel to the harbor wall again, and then you're at the finish line. So use these sighting, these big sighting things that you can key off of, as opposed to keeping to try and look for those little red buoys that look tiny out there in the open ocean. Keep that cadence up as you're swimming. Don't let it slow down, especially if the chop is up. A lot of times as you enter the harbor, the swells, even though it's no whitewater and nothing's breaking, the swells could increase as you're moving from the open ocean into the harbor. So just be on the lookout for that. Don't let that have its way with you. Keep the cadence up, keep moving forward. And like Jason said, once you get onto that boat ramp, as you finish, you might be a little wobbly. Don't think you need to sprint up the boat ramp. You can walk up the ramp, let your heart rate set a little bit, then you could start jogging the length of transition until you make that tight left-hand turn into transition. Do you have any questions around that? Anybody got any questions? No? Good. All right, swim wise, I think we covered everything there. You got anything, just put it out there. Once you get in your transition, let's make it fast. I don't want to hear you guys afterwards say, I wish I would have been a little faster in transition, right? It's a long transition as it is. It's long for everybody. Don't sit there and take 5-6 more minutes to put your shoes and your helmet on. We all know we get dressed every morning, put our shoes and our socks on. It's no different in transition. Get them on and get out of there. Get your shoes, your socks, your helmet, your sunglasses, your race belt, grab your bike and go. If you're running in your bike shoes through transition, just be careful because it is wet and damp in the morning. I just don't want you guys slipping. So just be cautious as you're getting to that mount line out of transition. Like I said, if you need to wear socks, wear your socks. Don't rush that fast that you forget your socks. Then we get a blister and it sidelines you. Put on your helmet, your sunglasses, shoes, race belt, grab your bike, carefully run the transition. You got to get out of transition to and over the mount line before you get on your bike. We all know that though. Bike course. All right. This is a doozy. It's a fun one. 56 miles, 90 kilometers, 2,720 feet of 2,720 feet elevation gain. For the most part, we're staying right the entire time. Only move left to pass another athlete. Make sure we look over our shoulder before we move back. Pay attention to signs and course markings. There's some really strange movement patterns throughout the course. I'm not going to annotate all of them here, but just pay attention to what they're telling you. We had one athlete semi-crash last year because the road pinched off and everybody didn't pay attention to the signs that say the road is pinching off, and they all try to fit 3 across into a funnel. Everything backed up and one of our athletes got pushed into the wall. So pay attention to those markings. If you need to slow down to give other athletes room, slow down. Don't worry, you'll make it up later. There is a no pass zone at mile 39, and there's tons of signage. There's a speedometer. You have to slow down 25 miles an hour max. So make sure you use the brakes there.
They will get you. What's the average speed? Is it 19 miles an hour or 20 miles?
25. 25.
Okay. Sorry.
Average. So you can't speed at 35 miles an hour, hit the brakes at the speed gun to 25, then go back to 35. From the start point of the speed zone to the end of the speed zone, you have to average 25 miles an hour. And we have several athletes, one on this call who has been disqualified in the past because they went too fast. And there's another athlete listening to the call after the fact that the same thing happened to. So
guys, what I did was I braked right in front because I had average speed on my speedometer. I was focusing on the guy in front of me, which that was my fault. That's not his fault. It's my fault. And I stopped right in front of the sensor. I got too close to the sensor. It already zinged. It already sensed me while I was waiting there. Then I took off. So you just be very mindful. They will catch you. So
yeah, go
look
slower than
at
you
it.
need to. Don't even tempt it. Go slower
That's
than
not the
25.
race. That is not the
Yeah,
race.
it's
right
very
there.
short, and once you get back on the pedals, you continue going at a pretty quick speed after that as well. So slow down when I tell you to slow down. I'd rather you guys go 20 miles an hour than risk it and go 26 miles an hour. Now, when you're coming in, we'll cover more in depth on the course. When you're coming in the T2, it's a very you're riding out. Pay attention when you get out of the swim because you're riding the exact same route that you run out of the swim. So there's a lot of really tight turns. There's trees with cement squares around them that you have to maneuver around as you're riding. So you can go very slow as you enter T2. So just pay attention when you're running. And so the last thing you're going to be thinking about as you're running from T into T1, but recall it as you're coming up on transition, because you don't just ride right in the transition. You have to go the same route that you ran in the transition from the swim. All right. And it's a very tight single file, tight turns as you ride. You can all ride it, but just be very cautious as you do, and be cautious of other riders riding like idiots. I'm not worried about you guys. I'm worried about everybody else.
Mhm.
All right, so the front. Actually, you know what? Let me bring this up. I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna skip ahead. Just hopefully I remember where I was at. The front part of the course is fairly flat. You go along the ocean. You go in and out of Camp Pendleton gates, and it's up and down and up and down, but it's not too crazy of elevation gain. Then, as you notice, about mile 29 is where you start the grind of the course. There's 3 decent climbs. It really doesn't even show that second is a decent climb. It's just a miserable grind all the way up. I'm just being honest. The first hill you'll see at mile 29, it's intimidating. You can all make it up. Just put in your granny gear and spin up the hill. No heroes. Push over the top. It's a screaming fast descent after that. It's wide open. It's not technical at all, Greenwich. So get moving as you get over that hill. Let your heart rate and your legs come back to you as you are pushing over the top of that steep one. And then once you get to the bottom, Jason can talk about this because we talked about it earlier. It's a false flat up that, it's probably a 7-8 mile climb up to the top there until you start descending again. And there's times when you think, what is wrong with my bike? What's wrong with my legs? I'm not going anywhere. Notice that you are going uphill. So put in a little easier gear, spin a little higher cadence, push a little harder effort, and get through that 7-8 mile climb, sooner than later, so you can get done with that grind. Jay, what were you saying about that?
Yeah, the false flat is super key. So try not to focus on your speed. You're going to go a lot slower than what you think you should be going. And you're going to be like, why am I going so slow? And you're going to look at your brakes, everything, are my brakes rubbing? I do it every single year. And it's just a false flat up, especially technically it starts at mile 22, right when you enter the park or the camp. All the way to mile 36, right on top of the biggest climb. It's technically a false flat up all the way with some punchy climbs. So just look at all your gauges, know your gauges. The gauges meaning your heart rate, your power, if you have it, your rate of perceived exertion. I would go more of rate perceived exertion than anything else during that. I believe that's the most important part of the race right there. So just back it off. I would say not back it off. Don't focus on speed.
Yeah, because it is a grind. Every time I hit it, and I say, why the hell didn't I train harder? I'm going so slow. But then you have a decent bike split. It's hard for everybody. So just know, put your head down. You did the right training. Stay within yourself, and just recall this call and be like, oh, they said this was going to suck. It does suck. But then once you hit mile 43 and you start screaming fast downhill, it makes it all worthwhile. Just something to be on the lookout for. Around mile 49, you make a right-hand turn, coming out of the last climb, out of the last part of Camp Pendleton. Last year at a tailwind, which was really nice, but there's a chance you could have a headwind. So just be on the lookout for that too. And if there's a headwind that lasts 6 miles, it absolutely stinks as well. But you know how to deal with it. You keep the cadence up. You don't, you don't go get outside of your abilities. You stay nice and fluid. You don't stomp on the pedals. So look out if there is a headwind. If there's a tailwind, put it in a good big gear and let it rip. But just be on the lookout. There could be a headwind on that last 6 miles, and you make the right hand turn going back to T2. All right, where are we at? Let me get back to bike notes. What am I missing here? All right, stay on the pedals, not too many spikes up and downs, even those punchy climbs that Jay was talking about. Keep it smooth, keep it relaxed, keep everything nice and stable for the most part all the way through. Don't spin too high or push too low over gear. I don't want to look at the data afterwards and see somebody was spinning one of the Talansky's 40 to 50 RPM workouts. You go behind the commissary. Remember this, it's right at the beginning. Maybe it's mile 2. You go behind the commissary, and 10 times I've raced it, 10 times this road is horrible, right? So they have everything marked. Ironman does a great job of marking it. They do a great job of cleaning the course. They do a great job of preparing the course for the athletes. That being said, behind the commissary, when you make a left-hand turn after crossing the bridge, then you make a quick left-hand turn again. It's probably mile 2, I believe. The road stinks, right? So just take it slow. It's a downhill with a horrible road. So take it slow. Watch out for all the orange markings on the road, the potholes. Get through that. You make another left-hand turn out of there, then you get back on the pedals. But take that area behind the commissary, relax, and don't feel like you need to push it through there. Another pace to look out for is going up Old Pacific Highway right before you make the right-hand turn into the base where the hills start. There's a no pass zone, and there's a lot of times there's surfers coming the other way down that bike path. It's only two lanes. So look out for that. Make sure you don't pass, because we don't want you to turn left, get in that left lane into the surfer skateboarding the other way. Then you go head on. Pay attention to those no pass zones. Hills come at mile 29. I don't know why that says 35. Make sure we stay fueled and hydrated. Like Jason says, set your timer, or just know, hey, every 5 minutes I'm taking a drink. Every 15 minutes I'm taking a gel. Every 20 minutes, whatever your specific plan is. On that TT bike, stay aero as much as you can. Obviously, when that road starts to hike up, you get out of that TT position and get in that max climbing position, sit up and bring that weight back over the bottom bracket. But when you're going along, PCH, you're going along the ocean, you're in the, it's not Trancas. It's where the power plant is. Stay TT as much as you can. Cut the wind. Even if you don't think you're putting out the watts you should be putting out, you're still cutting the wind and saving energy. Stay present and focused. It's really easy, especially on the base where there's all these things to look at. You might hear some cannons going off in the background. It's easy to lose focus. Bring the focus back to present, especially like when that false flat kicks in. It's easy to lose your focus, guys. Stay focused, stay present, stay focused on the process. Don't let that mind wander for too long. Make sure you're breaking the distance down into 5 miles at a time. There's 5 mile markers. Every 5 miles, there's a mile marker. So just ride one to the next without getting ahead of yourself, and stay on top of that nutrition. What else you got? Anything? Any questions coming in? Captain Rick is writing something. Captain Rick, are you writing something? All right, Jason, you got anything?
Nope. Jonathan wrote thermal wetsuit real quickly. I'm reading some of the quotes, of the questions. Real quickly, double cap the swim if you can, or if you're comfortable with it, double cap it, or wear one of those thermal caps. That helps out a lot. So, sorry, back to the run.
Beautiful. So run, make sure you have your gear, run shoes, socks, hat, visor, gel, sodium. Know where your bike is by finding a big object. Like there's 2,500 people doing this race. So make sure that, there's going to be 2,500 bikes in transition, and hopefully not that many, because you're going to be one of the faster cyclists back, but know where your bike is by finding a stagnant object, whether it's an outhouse, a porta potty, a tent. Find a stagnant object so you know where that bike is. So when you do ride in, you can go right to your bike rack.
Guys, bring chalk. If you have chalk, bring chalk.
I don't know if they let you chalk.
Oh, really?
There. No, I don't think so.
Never mind.
Same thing. I know that says Saturday, Friday, when you drop your bike off, look at that bike in and know your path to where you're going to go. Because when there's no bikes there, if you're one of the first ones off the bike, as you guys will be, it's that much harder to find your rack as well, because there's a bunch of shoes. You don't know where that is. So make sure you find that stagnant object. You run to that stagnant object. You know that your shoes are going to be right there. carefully dismount at that dismount line. It comes up pretty quick as you go through, because you're worried about technically riding through that tight area, going to the dismount, and then dismounts on you right away. So just proactively, if you are taking your shoes out, if your feet out of your shoes before you get off at the dismount line, I typically do that going into that technical area. I don't do it as I'm trying to get through it. So I ride that technical area with my feet on top of my shoes. If that's not something you do, don't try to do it now. Just get out of your clips as you usually do at the dismount line.
And if you can't feel your toes or feet, do not ride with your feet on top of your shoes, because you don't know where you're putting your shoes on your pedals. And so if you can't feel it, you don't know, all of a sudden your feet clip out and then you tumble. And once you put that first foot on the ground and you can't feel your foot hit the pavement, it's not good. So keep your, if your feet are numb, which they might be, keep them in your shoes.
All right, good one. All right, beginner run, just find your rhythm. It's fairly flat for the first quarter mile. Make a left-hand turn, you go up to the bridge, then you have a little incline, make a right-hand turn, it gets flat again. So you have a good flat section until you get to the pier. It's a pretty steep climb up the pier, but it's probably only 15 meters. And then you make the left-hand turn and you get back to your flat section again. So you get a good ease into this course. It's not like you're cranking uphill right from the start, but there are, once you get out into the neighborhoods, then you get some, false flats, longer grinding hills, nothing too crazy, nothing too steep. And we'll see the topography in a second, but you got to make sure you keep driving your knees. You got to keep that cadence up. It does get humid. You got to stay on top of your nutrition. Use the gels at the aid station. If you feel any cramps kicking up, especially in your diaphragm, if you think you're getting stabbed in right below your ribs, there's nothing wrong with you physically. You're getting a cramp. So get on that nutrition, get on that sodium, and that can dissipate quickly, but you just need to make sure you stay on it just as you did on the bike. Run 1 mile at a time. Make sure you race your race. Stay within yourself. If anything, I want you to hit that turnaround that's back at the bridge. I want you to hit that and feel like, hey, okay, now the race is really on. I'm going to run my face off this back half. You will feel the bad wolf. He'll tell you to slow down, tell you this false flat stinks. Stop driving your knees, turn all that off, stay present, stay within yourself. And we want you running strong to the finish. Be sure to use those aid stations, dumping water all over yourself. The thing is with humidity, if you don't get that water off of you, all it doesn't disintegrate or dissipate. What's it called? What's the word? It doesn't evaporate. Sorry. Thank you. Doesn't evaporate as it does in typical conditions that we're used to. The water just sits on your skin and starts to boil. So you want to keep that water coming off your skin. So make sure you're taking the water, dumping it on your skin, and just getting that water off and turning it over with some fresh water so that hot sweat can be taken off your skin and not cause you to boil. So use the aid stations to dump water on yourself. This is the run. Oh, sorry, that's the swim course. As you see, take it out, right-hand turns. We already showed that. Your motto for the day is going to be attack. There's no reason to take the foot off the gas. Here is the bike course. We already showed this. Just be prepared for that when you turn into camp and you start that false flat. 75 to 85%, guys. Know your numbers, know your power. If you're going off of power, if you're going off a heart rate, just know what that range is. We practice it every single session. You know when you're at 80% power, how that heart rate lines up. If you're watts, if you're using the power and you're just like, God, I cannot keep the watts today, turn off the watts, go right the heart rate and know, hey, I know my 80% power lines up to 135 beats a minute. I'm just going to keep an eye on this 135 beats a minute and stay within there. The heart rate starts to spike higher than that. Back it down, keep it in. Obviously, when you're climbing, it might go up a little bit, but keep it all within reason of your 75 to 85% range, whether it's power, heart rate, and know how that feels based on effort. We've trained countless hours in the past. You guys are ready for that. Run course, as you see, the topography of the run course is pretty interesting. It's up and down and up and down and up and down. So just keep those knees driving and keep moving forward. You guys are ready for this course. We've done all the work on the bike. We've had a lot of fun on the run, and you guys can go out there and show what you can do. All right, we got any questions? Anything anybody wants to go over? What do we got?
Would you recommend getting in the ocean first before your swim start? I say I don't want you guys to spend too much time in the ocean. You can get in and
flop around a little bit, but I don't want you spending, 10, 15 minutes in there. Our typical swim warm up is a little too long to be in that cold of temperature. So go for a little run, go for 5 to 10 minute run. And you can't run too far in Oceanside. You'll just bounce back and forth like a ping pong ball, because there's a breaker on one side and there's a breaker on the other side. So just run back and forth between the breakers. Nobody else will be doing it, but you guys should do it a couple minutes before you're going to get in line. Jump in the water and just flop around, maybe do a couple strokes, but I don't want you getting that core temperature down and then standing in line and waiting for the start and getting frigid. So get in there and feel it and know what it feels like, but don't spend too much time in there.
And what about
Get
swimming
the
day
ice
before?
cream headache like subsided, then get out.
All right, who's next? What would you say? Who's that?
What about swimming on the Friday?
I don't, like I said, I don't want you can get in and do, 5, 10, 15 minutes, but I don't spend too much time in there. I think the water quality isn't the best because of all the rain, but you can get in and just feel it. You don't necessarily have to. I mean, swimming, but if you just want to feel what the temperature is like, you can do that.
I would, just to feel what the waves feel like. And if you can do it early enough in the morning to where you know what the waves are doing, and swim past that break or where the first buoy might be.
I don't want you guys swimming anytime past 10 a.m. though, because it gets too windy out there and the chop is just too intense. You're going to be spending too much energy. So if you get down there and it's past 10 a.m., don't even waste your time. It gets too windy, and I don't want you wasting energy just doing that. Would you agree,
last year I
Jason?
just kind of went out to the where the first buoy would be, so to speak, and then came back in, and then I did it again, and that was it. I went back out and came back in. I just went past the whitewash just to kind of feel what was going on, and came back in. So just to kind of get you a feel of what's where the waves, what's going on, what you're doing, how long it takes to get out.
Yeah. I mean, you could do that, but just be careful if there's a ton of chop. Just I'd rather you guys save the energy for race day, but that's good. I want you to know the feel of what it's going to, at least look at what it consists of.
Where would you see yourself, Jim, if you're above average swimmer? If you're a good swimmer, would you go 30, 35?
Yeah. 30,
And
35. Yeah.
30, 35.
Yeah, because you don't want to get caught too far back with the people who are going to be timid going through the waves. You got to be aggressive on the waves, and you see it every year. People see it coming and they, the frightened face, and the wave just crushes them. We got to keep moving forward, dive under it, get through it, and you forget about it.
Yeah,
so
just
you
keep
don't want to be
moving forward.
back.
No matter how slow you feel you're going, you can be walking. Just keep moving forward.
Jim,
All
as far as the bike course, should we ditch the idea of negative split, or should we still aim for negative split?
The run course or the bike course?
The bike.
No, not the bike. You're not going to. I don't care what your split, how it's broken up on the bike course. I want you staying within your numbers. So because the topography of the course is so different. The first half, the second half, the third. The first third, second third, third. Timing is nothing. It's all about how you're executing the course. So, all right. Anything else? What am I missing? Anybody write a question that I didn't get to? Cody, how long is the run from the beach until you're actually swimming? Probably, I said, depends on, it's high tide, so it's probably gonna be a little less. I think, Jason, you said it was 100 meters, probably maybe 50, anywhere from 50 to 100 meters. There's gonna be a slight walk/run through that, and it's gonna be a slower process unless you're duck diving through it, because it will be high tide. So probably I would say anywhere from 50 to 100 meters, depending on what the tide's doing. So it's not right up on you like Malibu where it crashes right in your face. It's a ways out, and you think these waves aren't too bad, but then you get out there, just be prepared. They're going to look a lot bigger. Like I said, whether they're 50 meters high or 5 inches high, you're going to approach it the same way. Dive under it, get through it, keep moving forward. All right, what else? How long is a run? There's a little spill nearby. 8 miles is always a headwind, except for last year. It wasn't a headwind last year. It was a tailwind. I was very pleasantly surprised. Last 8 miles of the bike is usually a headwind, like Grant says. Last year's a tailwind. I was flying. Loved it. But every other year, it's been a headwind. So, all right, what else we got? Anything? Anyone else to cover anything? We got dinner. Anything? Kuno, you got anything? Yeah.
Meg says she still felt a headwind. We always feel headwinds when we're hurting. Meg.
All right, PSI on the bike. It depends on what tires you're running. If you're tubeless tires, Jason, what would you say PSI? Tubeless tires.
Depends on your weight. I would honestly Google I think SRAM has a good weight to bar or PSI calculator. So Google Google SRAM, comma PSI calculator.
Yeah. So know what type of tires you're running, if they have tubes or tubeless, and then look it up. But you want to be on the lower end of what it says, because it is a pretty bumpy course. And if you're going with back in the day, oh, everybody runs 110. The higher PSI you have in, the more bouncing you're doing, the more energy you're wasting by those tires spinning when they're not in contact with the ground. Don't want to go super low so you get pinch flats. But if you get a range of 80 to 85 based on what SRAM tells you, Jason's looking it up right now.
Yep.
Go on the 80 end spectrum, because we want to go on the lower end so you're in contact with that ground the whole time. A lot of people have been saying there's areas of the course, because all the rain is slippery, there's algae, the tank tunnel's dirty. The tank tunnel's always dirty until the day before the race. There's a tunnel that the tanks take from the base to the beach when they're doing their drills. It is caked in mud 364 days a year. This day they clean it out, they make it spotless. You won't even know it's a tank tunnel. The only reason you'll know it is because it says tank crossing, but that'll be clean. If there's anywhere in the course that's slippery, has any water, they'll make it, they'll annotate it, they'll say slow down. But Ironman is really, really good at clearing the course and making sure everything is safe and ready to roll for 2,500 cyclists to come through. So pay attention online. If it says slow, the on-course signs says slow down, slow down. There's water on the course, just a heads up. If you ever come across water in your training, don't coast through it. You keep your legs moving. You keep your feet moving. You pedal through it. Could be a foot of water. You can make it through it, but you got to keep your legs moving. Keep that momentum going forward. So if there's, for any reason, there's a puddle and you have to go through it, keep your feet moving. Ron, what do you got? Did you raise your hand? Your hand's raised. Cody, am I not entertaining you? He's taking a nap over there. All right. Guys,
real quickly, what not to do. For at least for the bike, do not change your size, your fit. Do not mess with your saddle height. I feel like so many people mess with their saddle height the day before a race. Is just leave it there. And on the run, if you do put like Yankee laces in your shoes, or if you're wearing new shoes, make sure you're running them before don't put your Yankees in before the night before the race, because your feet will just go numb, and then you got to stop and loosen up and all that stuff. Just I've seen it tons of times. I've even done it where I put a brand new like Yankees in my shoes, and my feet get numb the first mile of the race. Just make sure your shoes are looser than what you think, because your feet are going to swell.
Yeah, that's right.
You want to be as comfortable as you possibly can during this run.
Yeah, good point. Your feet do swell. So if there's any reason that you're like, oh my God, my feet are killing me on the bike, just reach down, loosen your shoes a little bit. And yeah, take that into account on the run. Make sure you're running your shoes on Friday that you're going to use for the race. And if there's anything issue bothering you, don't think, oh, I'll get my 20 minutes in. I don't want Strava to look like I slowed down. Stop, fix it, and stop and fix it as many times as you need to. All right. We good? All right. I think we're good. All right. Fill out your race plans. If you need a race plan, make sure you email me. I'll email one right back to you. And let's go out there and attack the course, guys. We're out there to race, right? Let's get out there, get aggressive, take some risk. We've done the work, and we are ready to let it roll. Stay on top of your nutrition, stay positive, stay focused on the process. I will get you guys the address of the house I'm staying at. If you need your Precision Hydration 1500, I can get you guys some packets, and you can come by and say hi. And Talansky will be down there. Jerry may be down there. Jason's coming down for sure. Is that for sure now, Jay?
Yep.
So we'll have a huge contingent. O'Driscoll, you going to be down there?
Don't think so.
Okay, O'Driscoll's not coming down.
Can't get coverage. So
okay, O'Driscoll, is there anything I missed?
no, all good. It's good. Another good race plan.
Okay. All right, so let's go out there and have fun. We have a big contingent, and then 4 p.m. is the awards. So we'll have to claim our Tri-Club Championship down there at 4 p.m. But let's stay within ourselves, execute our race, and stay on top of your nutrition.
Where do you wear your podium clothes, not your podium kit?
Yeah.
That's a pro tip right there.
Yeah,
change your clothes.
Hopefully you're not still in your kit at 4 p.m. I've seen it happen down there before, though. So
I'm kidding.
That's an ugly thing. Wearing those gross clothes around all day. All right, guys. Good work. We'll see you down there. If you need anything, I'll be there, and I'll be prepared with a ton of different stuff. So I will bring everything I can think of. So thanks for joining, guys. Greenwich, what else you got? Anything? You good? All right, guys.
Nothing, just saw something in the chat that made me very excited. Sorry.
Okay. All right, guys. We will talk to you soon. See you
Thanks,
down.
guys.
Good luck. Let's
Thanks,
crush.
Jim.
Bye.
See you, bye.
Bye.